My dear students, hope you are all doing well and keeping yourself safe. Here in this class, I am going to discuss about the mechanism of signal transduction. How signal is transduced. Whatever we get the response by our effective cells by muscles or secretion of certain things, enzymes, are due to the neurohormonal mechanisms after a stimulus comes from external environment to our body and by different neuronal way it transmits the signal to the central nervous systems, and thereafter these signals are ultimately transmitted to the effector cells. So basically here we are going to discuss the signals which after being transmitted through nerves from the central nervous systems, ultimately the different groups of cells are activated by certain hormones. That is the chemicals which helps in transmission of the signals or the particular message transmitted to the cells or group of cells or the tissues. So basically in this class I am going to discuss about the mechanism of hormone action. So I have already told you what is an hormone. Hormone is a messenger. It is a chemical transmitters in our body secreted by different endocrine glands, and different hormones are secreted for different purpose for the action of our body or cells or tissues. So next please. Thereafter, as I have said, when stimulus comes as a neurohormonal mechanisms to the effector, so after the signals received, these transmitted to different endocrine glands, and these endocrine glands secreted chemicals known as hormones, and these hormones goes through blood to a distant place, and sometimes some hormones which are known as local hormones as well, like prostaglandins etc., are also transmitted locally. Now there are different mode of mechanism of action of different group of hormones. So accordingly these hormones can be divided into two clear-cut groups. One for group 1 hormones and another is group 2 hormones. Now regarding group 1 hormones, this is transmitted to the different receptors which are present in the inside the cell, maybe intranuclear or intracellular, and this receptor hormone complex ultimately produce certain changes in the cell. What happens? The receptor hormone complex, they goes and bind ultimately to the hormone response elements. What are hormone response elements? They are the elements which actually is a part of the promoter systems of a gene. I told you in your gene expression class that promoter is the specific for a gene expression. So if promoters has to be activated, this hormone response complex as a part of the promoter in the eukaryotic gene has to be activated. And this is why hormone plays key role in expression of a certain type of proteins, which proteins accordingly give rise to further action. This may be an enzyme, this may be some signals This may be some secretions outside the cell. So different way the gene particular gene has to be activated, which secretes certain proteins, helps in producing that proteins and secreted outside or inside the cell as the requirement may be. Similarly, there are another group of hormones which are group 2 hormones. These are grossly sends its message up to the cell surface, that is plasma membrane. But beyond that it cannot go or pass the plasma membrane, which group 1 hormones can. So in the cell surface of plasma membrane, there are some receptors where it binds, and inside the cell some new different signals generated in the form of second messengers. So second messengers carry those information or molecules which ultimately goes in a cascade mechanism. They ultimately goes and bind with the particular hormone response element and or some protein ultimately which binds to the gene, which causes different type of expression or effects like gene transcription. Transporter channels are opened or closed. Protein transduction, that is very important, translocation and protein modification. So by any way they produce a particular protein of interest which can goes and make the action which is required at that time. So basically hormones carry the signals from the nerves ultimately to the individual cells where nerve endings cannot reach. Nerve endings reaches in different tissues, and after that the message is carried through these chemicals secreted from different endocrine glands, and the message can be sent at a distance by the way of transmitted through the blood vessels. Next please. Accordingly, so as per the mechanism of action, the hormones can be classified. Different hormones can be classified as group 1 hormones and group 2 hormones. Group 1 includes all steroid hormones, thyroid hormones like T3, T4, calcitriol or D3, and retinoic acid or actually vitamin A. Vitamin A and D, as it also causes expression of some proteins, they are also considered as hormone. Their mechanism of action are hormone-like. So these are group 1 hormones which have intracellular receptors. Now rest hormones act through plasma membrane receptors are grouped into group 2, out of which different according to different second messenger system, they are further classified into different groups. So second messengers may be a cyclic AMP, cyclic GMP, that can be a phosphatidyl inositol or IP3 or diacyl glycerol or both. There may be another group of second messengers which may be kinase or a phosphatase. They have as cascading reactions. So group 2 hormones include the particular hormones which acts through cyclic AMP as second messengers are glucagon, calcitonin, TSH, ACTH, FSH, LH, MSH, melanocyte stimulating hormone, PTH, HCG, alpha 2 and beta adrenergic catecholamine. So these are the hormones included in the Group 2, which acts through cyclic AMP as second messenger. Now, GMP, cyclic guanosine monophosphate, acts as a second messenger in some of the important hormones too, like ANF and atrial natriuretic factors and nitric oxide. We'll discuss about the mechanism of nitric oxide in details. And atrial natriuretic factors are some of the hormones secreted from the atrium which causes natriuresis. That means excretion of sodium through the kidney. The third group, which includes second messenger as phosphatidyl inositol or diacylglycerol or both, are different hormones which includes acetylcholine, alpha-1 adrenergic catecholamines, ADH antidiuretic hormone, oxytocin, angiotensin II, TRH thyrotropic hormones, PGDF, PDGF platelet derived growth factor, gastrin and cholecystokinin. So they are the hormones which act through these mechanisms. Now there are large group includes those which acts through kinase or phosphatase cascades. This includes growth hormone, insulin, prolactin, insulin-like growth factors 1 and 2, and erythropoietin. So we'll further learn in detail how these second messengers act and how the group 1 hormones acts through different intercellular and internuclear receptors. Next, please. So here is the basic concept of the group 1 mechanism of group 1 hormone. The group 1 hormones have intracellular receptors and affect gene expression. So all the hormones actually affect gene expression. That means they helps in producing or expressing some proteins. As I have already mentioned you earlier, that they actually, the receptor hormone complex goes and binds with the gene in the promoter region, which includes hormone response element. And after that element is activated, the whole promoter is activated and the specific gene is expressed. That I have discussed in detail in your gene expression classes. Now here you can find that some of the receptors, that is the triangles, they have intranuclear receptors and others are intracellular receptors. Both ultimately hormone receptor complex goes and bind ultimately to hormone response element, and the particular gene promoter is activated and the gene is expressed, thereby they synthesized mRNA. Particular mRNA is responsible for a specific protein, and this specific protein, which may be, I have told you, as an enzyme or a channel protein or some response elements which actually causes some metabolic response. That is the basic mechanism. Now we'll see what is the two examples of this group 1 hormones mechanism. Now here you have two examples of thyroid hormones and glucocorticoid. In case of thyroid hormones, you can see that after thyroid hormone is stimulated and goes inside, as it is group 1 hormone, they go inside, the receptor is inside the nucleus, so intranuclear receptors are there. So originally thyroid response element are repressed because the transcription co-repressor is attached with the thyroid response element. So that there is no response. But whenever there is thyroid hormones are present, it goes and binds with the thyroid receptor. And this receptor, when it bind with the thyroid response element, the repressor, the co-repressor are actually dislodged, and thereby positive effect happens and that particular gene is expressed. So intranuclear receptors are there for the thyroid hormones. In place of glucocorticoid, there are intracellular receptors but not internuclear. Internuclear, not like the thyroid hormones. Here, glucocorticoid, when secreted, binds with the receptor. Originally, the receptor was bound to HSP90. HSP90 is the heat shock protein, one of the chaperones, which holds the receptor, and the receptor is not free. But whenever there is glucocorticoid, presence of glucocorticoid, the receptor is free from the HSP protein and the bio goes and bind with the receptor. With the hormone, and the receptor hormone complex ultimately goes and inside the nucleus, and thereafter particular glucocorticoid response element of the gene is activated, thereby its promoter is activated, and ultimately the effect of gene expression happens. So this is the basic mechanism of the group 1 hormones. Now we will be going to discuss about the group 2 hormones mechanisms, which are a little bit complex. The first and most important way of action of group 2 messengers is mainly through a particular receptor known as G protein. Most of the hormones have this receptor. For the group 2 hormones, they mainly act through this G protein receptor. So this is very important to understand. And what is the mechanism of G protein coupled receptor, that you have to understand. Now most of the G proteins have different components. There is a receptor, actually G protein coupled receptors have 7 hydrophobic plasma membrane spanning domain. And G protein is a heterotrimeric protein, 3 components, protein complex, made up of alpha, beta and gamma subunits. So you can see the alpha, beta, gamma subunits are attached here with the G protein coupled receptors, and when hormones binds to the receptor, there is a conformational change, and this conformational change gives rise to certain energy, liberates certain energy. Conformation, you know, I have discussed earlier. Conformation and configuration. What is the difference? That you have to know. So conformational change means the breaking and of several non-covalent bonds. And these non-covalent bonds give rise to breaking of these non-covalent bonds give rise to certain energy, and that energy helps in conversion of GDP to GTP. Phosphorylation of the GDP happens and converted to GTP. And this GTP, when the non-activated receptor is bound to GDP usually, and they are not sending any impulse. But when it is converted to GTP, the particular alpha subunit dissociates. the dissociation of alpha from the gamma beta complex, and then this alpha goes and binds with the effectors. That effector may be an enzyme, that effector may be a channel protein. Here is the effector is the enzyme, cyclic AMP will be generated. So here this enzyme which is known as adenylate kinase is there, and this adenylate kinase helps in conversion of AMP to cyclic AMP, which is the second messenger. So when receptor binds with the effector, GTP bound receptor binds with the effector, that particular kinase is activated, the adenylate kinase is activated and causes conversion of GTP to GDP. So the action started and they are activated, so lot of cyclic AMP generated, and this transmits signals further towards the nucleus, causing some of the changes or secretions of some proteins, or which causes metabolic action. Now, once the signal is already transmitted, purpose is solved, what happens? This particular GTP has this alpha subunit has an intrinsic GTPase activity, and this intrinsic GTPase activity helps further to dissociate phosphorylated GDP. So phosphate is detached and back the particular alpha subunit is further attached with the GDP, and when GDP, it is again become inactive and comes to the original place and bounds with the alpha and bounds with the beta and gamma subunit. So the mechanism is very interesting, and that you have to understand. This is also very important for your examination purpose. Now these mechanisms I have told you are adapted by different second group of hormones. Many hormones act through this G receptor, and G protein receptors again have different types. They may be stimulatory, known as GS, and simply there may be another GI which is inhibitory. The stimulatory means when G protein bounds with a particular effector or enzyme or channel, that is positively activated, and when the GS or GI is activated, that inhibits the particular action. Now there is an excellent example in the form of cholera toxin as well as pertussis. Cholera toxins, in case of cholera toxins, the mechanisms are through the GS or stimulatory G protein. In case of pertussis infection, this is G inhibitory. Now, what happens with the cholera toxin? The cholera antigen bounds with the endothelial cells, in the intestinal cells, and thereby it binds with the receptor here, and this receptor, that means G protein bound receptors, are bound with the cholera toxins, and these receptors, which is transporter, actually helps in the transport of secretions of sodium water outside the cells. This particular cholera antigen helps that particular receptor to be in the activated state always. How? This intrinsic GTPase activity of the alpha subunit are lost here by the action of the cholera toxin. So there is no inhibition and there is continuous secretion of the salts and water from the body, which causes dehydration, and ultimately session become very severe. So in the chlorhydrotoxin, you will find the management is nothing but to mainly replace of the salt and water. Now G inhibitory mechanism exists in case of pertussis. Pertussis, that means whooping cough, commonly known as. That is the continuous cough, dry cough comes out by the patient and become exhausted, mainly the small kids. And here the particular mucous membrane of the throat, they have these particular toxins or antigens bound with the G protein, which sends it inhibits the particular mechanisms, and patients are continuously stimulated and their coughing continues. So with this small example, you have to go in details, learn in details by going through books. Everything is there in the book. So this is the basic idea I just wanted to share with you here so that you can further learn yourselves. So that is very interesting way that some of the hormones act. Next please. Some of the hormones I have told you act through second messenger as calcium or phosphatidylinositol or both. As well as diacylglycerol is also one of the second messenger. Now here what happens, mainly the receptor hormone complex like mainly acetylcholine or the other, they act through this mechanism. What happens, there is G protein coupled receptors which helps to activate the phospholipase C, and the phospholipase C helps to break phosphatidyl inositol diphosphate into inositol triphosphate as well as diacylglycerol. And this inositol triphosphate enters the cell. In the cell, they help in stimulating and releasing calcium from the intercellular store, that is endoplasmic sarcoplasmic reticulum. And the calcium liberated, when concentration raised little bit, they bound with the calmodulin, and calcium calmodulin complex, they stimulate various protein kinase. Calcium calmodulin kinase also helps in the phosphorylation of certain subprotein. The phosphoprotein helps in the phosphoprotein with different enzymes. Some enzymes are activated when they are phosphorylated, and this ultimately causes cascade reaction, and thereafter they causes physiologic response. In case of DAG also enters the cell, and that also can causes the some of the protein kinase, phosphokinase C, that is also another enzyme which are activated, and that also causes phosphorylation of different phosphoprotein kinases, and they can cause physiological response. So that is another important mechanism by which certain group 2 hormones act. Now, these are the basic mechanism by which these hormones are mainly active. Now, there are another hormone which is very interesting to be named as hormone, I have told you, is a nitric oxide. So, I'll be not be able to discuss nitric oxide itself, but a little bit of mechanism of nitric oxide can be discussed here. Is very relevant because this is also one of the signal transducing molecule like any hormones, so considered as a hormone like action. And nitric oxide had many actions in our different cells, different systems. So there is no system which have no role of nitric oxide almost. And this nitric oxide was first discovered as the endogenous vasorelaxation factor. So this vasodilatation is one of the main mechanism of nitric oxide. I'll be discussing only that part. Though nitric oxide is synthesized in our body as a response of certain hormones, acetylcholine, and they are different types of nitric oxide synthesis in our body. In the blood vessels, it is known as nitric or endothelial NOS, nitric oxide synthase, or eNOS. There are in the neuronal cells there is iNOS, and in the inflammatory cells there are neuronal cells is nNOS, and in the inflammatory cells it is the iNOS. So different type of enzymes, even the mitochondria they have mitochondrial NOS. So different type of nitric oxide syntheses are there in our system. Here is the mechanism of vasodilatation causes by the nitric oxide. How? Nitric oxide is synthesized in the vessels by the endothelial cells. And these endothelial cells produce nitric oxide under the influence of eNOS. I have told you endothelial NOS by the help of L-arginine plus oxygen, which converts to citrulline and nitric oxide with the help of calcium. The calcium is liberated under the influence of the vessel shear stress and in the influence of acetylcholine. And this, after synthesis, the nitric oxide travels a little bit through the blood vessels, and mainly they affect in the smooth muscle cells of the blood vessels. Now, in the smooth muscle cells, what happens? Under the influence of nitric oxide, GTP is converted to cyclic GMP by the guanylate cyclase. And this guanylate cyclase enzyme converts to cyclic GMP, which ultimately causes release of the some channels are release of the calcium from the cell. The calcium channel opens and calciums are liberated from the cells. So calcium concentration goes down in the cell, and that causes vasodilatation. For further explanation, you can further see how the vessels are relaxed. Actually, calcium in a concentration of 10 to the power 5 millimole per liter, when it is 10 to the power 5 millimole per liter, the calcium calmodulin complex is stimulated, and this calmodulin is bound with the calcium. But when the concentration goes down to 10 to the power minus, the complex again dislodged. So there is no stimulation. Now calcium calmodulin complex, when helps in activating the myosin kinase. The myosin kinase is activated, that means the myosin ultimately helps to dissociate ATP to ADP. Now in the cell, in the smooth muscle cell, when actin and myosin complex are interacted, there is contraction, and when they are dislodged, there is relaxation. Now this myosin usually interacted with the actin when it is non-phosphorylated. When it is phosphorylated, it does actin and myosin complex are formed. So what happens in the presence of calcium, the actin myosin complex are formed. They are actually contracted. There is But when it is not there, when calcium concentration goes down, they are relaxed. So the calcium concentration is reduced by the help of this cyclic GMP, the second messenger, through this signal transduction mechanism, and this cyclic GMP is produced under the influence of nitric oxide. That's why nitric oxide stimulated, when stimulated, this causes vasodilatation. Under some patient, when they have certain ischemia, there is a constriction of the blood vessels, they require to be given some medicine as glycerol trinitrate. The nitric oxide is released from the nitroglycerin, nitroglycerin or trinitrate, and that goes and goes and releases nitric oxide. So nitrate is being used to relieve certain anginal pain and as a anti-angiogenic medicine. So that is the basic of the mechanism of nitric oxide. So how nitric oxide acts to second messenger, that is the cyclic GMP. Next please. Lastly, there are certain hormones I have told you which have second messenger is a kinase or phosphatase. In case of mainly insulin signaling system pathway, you have certain cascade phosphatase and kinases molecule that you will find. Basically, insulin acts through cell surface receptors, but these receptors have further cascade mechanism that by which they generates different type of kinase, PIP3 kinase or MAP kinase, and that causes protein translocation, different type of channel activity, gene transcription. So this is a little complex mechanism, and you will have a separate class on insulin signaling pathway. I think I have been able to discuss about the basics of the hormone mechanism of action. So please go through your books also, and if you have any doubts that can be cleared when we will be taking your interactive classes. Thank you very much for your sound listening.